front left.
Shannon Russell, Cincinnati Enquirer. Matt, can you tell us how you're feeling with your knee, and can you explain what that cryogenic tank was that you were in the other day?
Yeah, so I'm good to go, feeling okay, and I'll be all right for the game. The cryo tank we got in, it was a nitrogen-based. What it is, it pumped nitrogen in to drop the temperature down to negative 300 degrees for 180 seconds, so 3 minutes, and it gives you the same effect of like an ice bath for 15 to 20 minutes, except it does a little better. Sort of shocks your system, so it helps it out that way, and it was something to help heal and just refresh your legs.
What was that like?
It was really, really cold. It was tough. The first 2 minutes weren't too bad, but the last 60 seconds definitely were tough.
Right here on the left.
Joe K with the AP. Matt, Chris said yesterday he thought you would be better than you were for the Marquette game physically. Can you just talk about comparing to how it feels now to then?
Yeah, I feel a ton better. Dave Fluker and Matt Jennings are doing a great job making sure I've used all the resources that are available to me, and we've continued to run on the treadmill, the Alter G, try to stay in shape, and the cryo spa that we used. That was really cool, and I think I've had a lot of time, a little more time than I did maybe to get my legs back and feel a ton better. So yeah, I'd definitely say I'm a lot better off than I was ready for the Marquette game.
Guys, if we go from this side down, if each of you could just talk about what it's like to play here at the UD Arena and be in the NCAA Tournament. Isaiah, if you'd like to begin.
Well, we played Dayton last year, so we are kind of familiar with, the arena when it comes to shooting and, the background and everything, when it comes to the atmosphere. So, I'm really excited to be in the tournament. This is my first time, first go-around, and we're looking to make some noise.
Go ahead, Semaj.
I feel the same way pretty much. I know, like Isaiah said, we played here last year. The arena is crazy when a lot of people in the gym. So I'm just ready to play and ready to shock the world. So.
I can agree with both of my teammates, but in the tournament, it doesn't really matter where you play at. It doesn't really matter to me where we play. I just want to play.
I'm just ready.
I've never played here before. I came and watched those guys play last year. But I'm just excited to have the opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament, and I know that our guys are really excited, and that one thing that won't be lacking in the game tomorrow is definitely energy.
Zach, go ahead here on the right.
Matt, how much of your decision to transfer here was the chance to play in the NCAA tournament in big games like this?
A lot of it. That was a big appeal for coming to Xavier University. They had the track record that showed that they're getting to the tournament over and over again, and that's something I wanted to do. And now that we have the opportunity to do it, it's kind of surreal. You're getting here and you're just like, wow, looking around, kind of sightseeing, but we know we got to be locked in for tomorrow.
I know you've answered this before, but not when I've been around. So how much have you changed your body, and how much have you changed as a person and player, in 2 years since you were last seen?
A ton. A lot of credit to Xavier University for doing that. I've lost a lot of weight. I've matured a little bit. Still got a little more maturing to do. But overall, it's just been a drastic change for me. From the things I eat to how I work out, and definitely the cast around me. So it's all benefited me in a great way.
Right here in the front, on the front left.
Isaiah, we talked to you about 24 hours ago, and can you talk about what you guys have been doing in the last 24 hours and what kind of crash course you've gotten on NC State?
Well, in the last 24 hours, we had walk through, shoot around, and practice, watch some film to get more familiar with NC State. When you find out you're going to play on a Tuesday, on a Sunday, the only thing you can do is really get in the gym and try to get ready for your opponent. When it comes to NC State, they're more of a driving team than a shooting team like Creighton, so that's good for us because it didn't turn out too well against Creighton. Other than that, we were just getting ready to play.
Go ahead here on the left.
From Dayton Daily News. You guys talked about the building itself, but what do you expect from the crowd tomorrow night? It's not going to be as hostile as when you played Dayton here, but do you think the neutral fans are going to get behind NC State, or do you think you're going to have a lot of blue up here as well?
We'll start with Isaiah, and then we'll head down.
I think we're going to have a lot of blue, but, you know, the neutral fans around here are probably going to be on NC State's side. So, I mean, we have away games like that, so it shouldn't really affect us.
I feel the same way. I know we have a lot of Xavier fans here, but I know a couple of Dayton fans will be here yelling at us. But it is what it is. So.
Yeah, playing in a Dayton game, you expect that from the Dayton fans if you play at Xavier, but I'm just more so looking forward to the Xavier support. So.
I don't know who's going to be here, but I know these guys and the rest of the people in the locker room, we're going to be ready to play.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we'll have, you know, a lot of red fans out there, but I think Xavier Nation will do a good job of coming out. And regardless, you know, we have a team full of warriors, and when you challenge a warrior responds.
Right here on the right.
Dee, given the standard that was set here and then not making the tournament last year, how satisfying is it to be back?
It could have been a lot more satisfying if we didn't have to play the first game, but I mean, just being in the tournament is great. We're excited as a team, and we're doing as much as we can to prepare for this game.
Semaj, we know you know TJ from your time at Brewster. What did you get out of that year at Brewster? How did you improve, maybe on and off the court?
I improved in a lot of things. Just growing up and knowing that you're not always going to be the best player on the court. We had, like 5 or 6 players that can score whenever they want to score. You had to play a role and, be happy with winning. We was winning all the time, so I couldn't complain. So I think coming from Brewster, that was the biggest thing for me, is just knowing you're not going to be the best all the time. You just work as hard as you can and try to do what you can.
John, here in the back, right.
This question's for everyone excluding Matt. What's the transition been like switching over from the A-10 all the way over to the Big East now?
Isaiah, if you can begin, please.
Well, the Big East has, it's the transition, there's competition everywhere, but obviously when you're going to the Big East, you expect a little bit of tougher teams physically, more athletic teams. That's really what I would say the biggest thing is, because that A-10, the fans are just as wild as the Big East fans. So I would definitely just say more physical and the athleticism.
Semaj?
I say probably you have a big game every night. Every night it's going to be a show. So you don't know what's going to happen. You just got to come out there and play.
Dee?
Yeah, like Semaj said, every game's a big game. It's going to be competitive, but if you look at the A-10, they have a lot of teams in tournament as well. So, college basketball's been great this year.
Justin?
Yeah, I kind of don't like when people ask that question, because I feel like basketball is basketball, no matter where you play at or who you're playing against. So, it's still basketball. They tie their shoes up just like us. So, we just got to come to compete.
Right here in the front left.
Dee, how much were the last couple of days beneficial to you in terms of healing a little bit? You seem pretty banged up in the Marquette game.
Oh, very beneficial. It's a quick turnaround, so, I'm doing everything I can, like Matt, to get ready.
Did you get in the cryo tank?
I did get in the cryo tank. I'm not a big fan of the cold, so my 3 minutes were a lot longer than his 3 minutes.
Any other questions for the student athletes? Right here in the back left. Sam?
Hi, Gary Hahn with the Wolfpack Sports Network in Raleigh, North Carolina. TJ Warren's one of the great scorers in college basketball. I'm sure you've seen videos of him. What are your impressions of him, and what's going to be your defensive approach?
Isaiah, if you could begin.
He's a player that can score in bunches from anywhere. So basically, just try to contain him as much as we can. We can't allow it to be a one-on-one matchup. It has to be a 1-on-5. We have to limit him from driving to the paint and shooting his floaters or his jump shots, step backs, anything like that.
Semaj?
I mean, he pretty much can do anything. He scored the ball in different ways, but it's not just going to be one-on-one. It's going to be 5 of us. So, I mean, that's at the end of the day, it's going to be one on 5. You don't have to score. You don't have to beat all of it. It's not just going to be one guy.
Yeah, very much agreed. We've played players in the past. Doug McDermott, for example. He's a one-man show, but he's got people around him that's helping him out. So, we just try to crowd the floor as much as we can and make it tough.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like all these guys reiterated, you just try to crowd the floor for him. He's going to get his shots up and he's going to score points too, but you just try to limit him as much as possible.
In the back right.
I just have one other question. What kind of happened at the end of the season? You lost 3 of the last 4. Was it just who you played and when you played them, or was it you or was it them? What was it?
Matt, if you could start on the far
We had
side.
a very, very tough schedule. We were banged up a little bit and played some very good teams in Villanova and Creighton. Faltered a little bit against Seton Hall too. But overall, we're not really looking to the past anymore. So we're more looking to the future, and we're excited about the game tomorrow.
Yeah, it was just a tough schedule. No excuses or explanations, but we just got to be able to get stops. Anytime we were able to get stops down the stretch, we're usually good at closing out games, and we weren't able to do that those couple games. So anytime we can do that, we'll be all right.
Go ahead, Dee.
I believe we did enough to get here to where we're at now, and I think we're just moving forward. That was the goal at the beginning of the year, is to make it to the NCAA Tournament, and that's where we're at.
Like Matt said, it's a new season. Tomorrow starts something new for us, so I don't really think we really thinking about how we finished out the season. Tomorrow starts a new day.
I agree with my teammates. It doesn't matter what we did the last 5 games. It doesn't matter if we lost all 5 games, because it's a new season, and we're going to come out tomorrow ready to play and ready, to give it all we have, leave it all out on the court.
Well, we're tremendously excited to kick off the NCAA tournament here tomorrow night. I think, as our players alluded to, we feel like we've earned it. Played a very, very tough schedule, and this is what you work for all year. So we have a huge challenge in NC State. They're a really good team. They've been playing their best basketball of the year down the stretch. T.J. Warren is a scoring machine. And we're going to have to do a great job, not only on TJ, but the rest of their team.
Right in the front left.
Coach, we were talking to Matt and Dee about the cryo tank and some of their treatments, and I'm just kind of intrigued by that. Can you talk more about that, and is that something new that you guys are using?
Yeah, I just had a person reach out and say that this is, a way to sort of expedite getting iced after practice, after games, and so we just felt like, we would try it out. This time of year, guys are trying to heal up a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. We've been going at it since mid-September, and certainly Matt and Dee have been battling injuries. Obviously, Matt's a little bit more severe than Dee, but again, anything that our training staff can do, they'll do, and they'll turn over every rock to try to figure out what they can do to put our players in the best position possible to play on game night.
Right here in the front right.
Zach Jackson from Fox Sports. What has Matt brought to your program, not just your rotation?
A tremendous work ethic, a high-character kid, a kid who wants to win. I think when you talk specifically about his play on the floor, one of the very few post players in America that wants to be in the post, that can pass equally as well as he can score. And I think he's just scratching the surface. It's been well documented how much weight he's lost in the last year. But I feel like, when this year ends, Matt's going to put just as much hard work, effort, perspiration into this coming off season so that he can be one of the best, centers in all college basketball. He's the smartest kid on our team. He's probably smarter than any coach on the coaching staff, and at times he tries to tell us that. But Matt has to understand coaches and then players. But I've really enjoyed having Matt in our program. He's a great kid.
Coach, the players addressed playing here in Dayton and the experience, and that ties in with the crowd as well. Could you just address that?
Well, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit, oil and vinegar tomorrow night. You're going to have a large contingent of Xavier fans that are going to make their way up 75. We have a tremendous fan base, a very loyal fan base, hopefully a very loud one tomorrow night. And I'm sure there'll be sprinkled in some Dayton fans who will give us their warm welcome. But that's okay. I think it's going to make for a great environment. I'd rather play in a supercharged atmosphere than a hollow one, and we're going to have that tomorrow night.
Right here in the front left.
TJ Warren gets the lion's share of the publicity, as well as should as ACC Player of the Year. But what does Ralston Turner bring to their team, and what does he add to their complement?
He is a tremendous shooter. Coach Godfrey does an excellent job of getting him free on screening actions. He can change the game. Just 2 or 3 consecutive possessions, they're going to free him up for 2 or 3 threes, and the next thing you know, you're down 10 points. And I think when he's playing well and shooting at a high level, they're a different team, and so it's a huge challenge. He's not a small kid. He's got great size. He's got a very quick release. He's a big challenge.
Right here, Zach.
Semaj has had a great year. How good, from your perspective, has his year been?
He's had a very, very good year. I mean, he's, to me, one of the best guards in the country in transition. He does a great job of getting in the lane. I think he's extremely hard to keep out of the lane. He makes the right play almost every single time. He draws contact well. He finishes through contact. I think his shooting has been much improved. Earlier in the year he wasn't shooting free throws as well as he is now, but down the stretch, I'd say over the last 15 or so games, he's won us games at the free throw line. And then again, he's not a one-way player. He plays defense. He takes just as much pride on the defensive end as he does the offensive end. He had a huge steal in our Providence win at home against Bryce Cotton that sealed the game. So to me, he's one of the best players in the country, and I know he's anxious to play in this tournament.
Right here in the front left.
NC State seems like it's a very different team compared to your last opponent, Creighton. But do they remind you of anyone else that you've played this season?
I don't really get into comparison, Shannon. We take each team for what they're worth, and I do know that NC State is playing their best basketball of the year. They have a lot of young kids, and so usually that takes time. TJ Warren has really started to, I don't want to say put it together, but I mean, he's had some unbelievable nights at Pittsburgh, and to have 40-plus point games. I mean, we know that he's going to be extremely difficult to guard. They're going to put him in the long post. They're going to put him in ISO situations. He's going to try to draw fouls. But it's one thing when you only have 1 or 2 talented players. NC State has really good guard play. They have big guys that go after the offensive glass, and so I don't really compare teams. We just know it's going to be a challenge. Anytime you make the NCAA tournament, whether you're us, you're NC State, whether you're Florida, whoever, you're a good team, and you're very capable on any given night.
Right there on the back right, and John, you can.
Gary Hahn with Wolfpack Sports Network. Overall, just how do you see the matchup? What do you think it'll boil down to?
Well, I think it's a good matchup. We have to keep them off the glass. We're going to have to be prepared for different types of defenses. I know Coach Godfrey, throughout the course of the year has shown several different defenses, whether it's man-to-man, which primarily what they play in the ACC tournament, but they'll quickly go to a 2-3. They'll go to a diamond and one. We can expect that with Semaj being out there. But, again, I think what tournament play comes down to is being yourself, not getting rattled by the environment, making sure that, at least from our standpoint, we're the same team that limits you to one shot. We've led the Big East in rebounding differential, and if we want to advance in tournament play, we've got to be that same team tomorrow night.
John.
Coach, I asked some of the guys this earlier. What was it like for that transition from you guys moving from the A-10 to playing in the Big East this year?
I think Justin Martin said it best. Basketball is basketball. There were some terrific teams in the Atlantic 10, as evidenced by the number of teams that got in the NCAA tournament. It's really hard to compare leagues per se. I would tell you that physically, there's greater size in the Big East, but in terms of skill level and talent, it really depends on who you play. And, for instance, you look at UMass, they're a completely different type of team than St. Louis, but yet they're both really, really good. So I think what's been really great from our standpoint is the round-robin feel of our conference. Much has gotten lost in the 14-team, 16-team leagues. There's no equity. There's no equality. We play everybody home and away. By the time we got to the conference tournament, anybody that played one another, they were playing them for a third time. So I think over time, our league's going to have some great rivalries that are going to be built in over time.
Zach.
Coach Semaj knows TJ from Brewster. You've had a lot of success with guys from Brewster, different prep schools, high school all-star teams, various levels. What do you think guys get out of that experience?
Well, I think they get, number one, the ability and opportunity to live away from home. And those schools, especially up in the New England prep school system, are really good academic schools. Those kids have to go to study hall. They're taking tough classes. They have to balance the fact that they're away from home. It's a mini college experience. And so when they get to a Xavier, an NC State, I think they're better equipped to make that transition. I think a lot of kids that just go straight from high school, where they go home and watch cartoons with mom and dad at the house, it's quite an adjustment. And I think guys like T.J. Warren, Jalen Reynolds, Semaj Christon, Miles Davis, guys that had that prep school experience, I think are better because of it.
Zach.
Did you ever worry about losing Semaj during his year?
Well, we didn't have him before he came out. So when he was a senior at Winton Woods, that's when we began recruiting Semaj. And he had already made his decision at that time that he was going to go on to a fifth year, a prep school year. And so he committed to us in the summer right before he went off to Brewster. So, but yeah, you always worry.